Good afternoon. I'm Matthew Burbidge from Brainstorm magazine, and I'm joined by Oren Kaplan, the sales director for the Middle East and Africa from Pentera. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Pentera, where does that name come from?
So Pentera comes from actually penetration testing in a way. When we started, our founder and CTO, Eric Liberson, was the red team leader and pen tester for a very substantial organization back home in Israel.
And when was this?
It was in 2016 where he
Okay.
came with an idea of taking a manual work and automating it. Since attackers today are automating their attacks against us. So Eric realized that you cannot really fight attackers that are automating with manual work. That's why Pentera was created and took pen testing from a manual thing into automation and continuous automation of the network.
All right. So, so then, if I'm a customer, say I'm a mid-size. I mean, what verticals do you play in? Is it across the board, financial services?
So pretty much vertical agnostic. I mean,
Okay.
Everyone who's anyone need to measure themselves and validate their security controls and need to automate the attacks. So obviously finance is one of our biggest verticals.
Sure.
But we're almost everywhere from retail to construction to almost anywhere almost any company needs to look at their network from a proactive approach. So this is where we come into play. And we have more than 800 customers covering from around the world, and we hope to end the year at 1,000 customers that are continuously using Pentera day to day to help validate their controls.
Okay, so 800. That's. I suppose I don't know if that's a lot or not. I mean, is it?
It's pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the first sale that we've done was in 2018. So we started 2016, where
Okay,
Eric
so it's been
developed.
a couple of years. You've only been going a couple of years.
5 years, 800 customers. I think
Okay.
it's a dream for every company. Today we're a unicorn, so we're evaluated by more than $1 billion.
Okay.
A
billion or
billion.
Million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unicorn.
Okay. And how does the pricing work? Does it work like per user, or is it size of customer, or what services they want to do?
So usually it works by the amount of endpoints they want to cover.
Okay.
So one of the things that Pentera does when you define a template or a testing scenario, you want to cover your entire attack surface.
Sure.
So your attack surface is built out of devices, workstations, servers. Each and every one of them contains an IP and potentially can be leveraged by an attacker to get in. So the way we price it is by unique endpoints or
Okay.
IPs in the environment. So obviously for a big organization, it will be more costly because they need to test more. But once you have acquired the license, you can test as many times as you want. You have as many users as you want. The idea here is just the devices you're testing are in the license itself.
All right. Okay. Why don't you dig into the solution then? So, do you put an agent on my network, or is that how you do it?
It's a great question because we don't. We
Okay.
believe in the agentless approach.
Okay.
One of the things now in cybersecurity is that organizations, employees, have too many agents on their devices.
Yeah.
It creates a very hard working environment for them. And on top of it, we believe that attackers, when they come in and attack, they don't have agents helping them in the network. This is why we developed the platform to be fully agentless. It really eases the whole installation and deployment. In a matter of hours, you can already have Pentera up and running in your network. And to talk a little bit about what we do, is that we decided to take the route of validation. If you look at the cybersecurity space, 10 years ago, everyone were talking about prevention, firewalls, right? Checkpoint, Palo Alto created these walls of fire, right? So attackers can go in. And then we realized with time that sophisticated attackers can go around that walls, under, above, and use techniques like phishing, social engineering, man in the middle, things like that in order to go in. And then came the era of detection and response, like EDR, NDR solutions. And
Yeah.
now what we're seeing, the narrative is all about validation. Don't just throw money at the problem. Don't just buy more and more controls.
Yeah.
Test what do they do when that moment of truth happens and the attacker comes in. Can you tell me for certainty that your control, that your EDR, that your NDR, that your SOC will recognize Pentera and block it? Most of the people can't say that because they never validate their controls. But once you continuously challenge all the controls that are in place, then you know what happens when that moment of truth happens. You know that everything you're doing is operating like a Swiss clock, and is there to protect you when that moment of truth happens. Because the biggest companies in the world, they have the best cyber solutions, but we still hear about ransomware attacks happening left and right.
Yeah.
How can it happen? It happens because they don't validate that everything they're doing is actually working, that all the promises that all these wonderful vendors, which have amazing solutions, gave are actually good in reality.
So your solution is part of a kind of cyber readiness approach.
In a way, definitely.
Yeah. So you can better, it's a bit, you're better protecting yourself. I mean, do people, do you find people are more susceptible to sales conversation after they've been breached?
It depends. I think obviously,
Yeah.
when you're breached, you know what the painfulness of being breached and how do you fix it. But I can tell you that now more than ever, people understand that it's not enough to protect yourself. You have to test your protection. It's like, let's imagine that you have a safe in a bank, right? So you build all these controls, the alarms, the cameras.
All you need is the key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But imagine that I can disguise as the attacker and try to infiltrate your bank and your safe and go out with that information. And I do it from, as a computer, from all the different scenarios and possibilities. So only then you really know whether everything that your architectures of security decided to do is actually, good in reality. So basically it's like, I'm the attacker, you're the defender. Let's see that everything you put in place is actually working.
Okay, so just to go back to the platform. So the platform is on my network. What is it doing?
So it's a server. It's one point of presence. Okay, that server is like a gaming laptop, right? A gaming rig, or this can be a VM, it can be a desktop, a laptop. Doesn't really matter, but it needs a GPU for password cracking. The idea here is that you connect to it internally. The device or that device, that form factor stays on-prem. And from that point forward, you define the attack scenarios. So it's an automated platform. So you define scenarios. Let's test every weekend from Friday to Sunday, this segment, that server segment, or that user segment, and run it continuously. And once it runs, it will find the vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, progress the attack, run techniques like lateral movement, privilege escalation, do techniques that are very known in the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and then yield a report based on that. First of all, giving you a score, so you can get a C, a B, an A+. Really depends on your network.
So that's a general score for the network?
It's a general score based on that specific test.
Okay.
And because the network is dynamic, that score doesn't stay the same. The idea here, don't do it as a snapshot, but do it continuously. Today I got an A, great. Tomorrow there can be a new exposure because IT is so dynamic.
Yeah.
It changed last week. So now I have new exposures, new vulnerabilities, new misconfigurations. Pentera can still the score can go down. But it will pinpoint that root cause, that problem, and help you fix that problem.
So, and then it'll generate a report, right?
Correct.
And it'll say, this, you've got to fix this, the window's open, the door's unlocked, and
that alarm that you invested millions of dollars in does not pick up the corner of the room, and that attacker can go from there, for example.
And then someone fixes that, one would hope.
Definitely. The idea here at the end is to run a remediation cycle, right? To run Pentera, to find the problems. We help with remediation. We have a full remediation wiki that helps those that are trying to defend fix the problems, because remediation is very difficult. I mentioned this in my talk today, that some problems are patchable, some of them are not patchable, some of them you need to change the process. So it really gives insight and information about the problem and explains how to do it, because in many cases it's difficult. It's really difficult to do that. So not only that we find the problem, we show the path of the attacker where it started, we give you the solution. So it's a full end-to-end solution that is independent completely from anything that you have in the environment, because it allows you to really have an X-ray vision of your network.
So you want to, and your idea is to, you want customers to keep your system running. You don't want them to just use it for a bit and then say fine.
The idea here is if you do it once a year, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Network is dynamic.
Sure.
I'm not saying do it every day,
Yeah.
but do it every 2 weeks, do it every weekend, test all attack surfaces at night, on the weekend, during the day, run different scenarios. You can't really look at your network and say, oh, I tested it once a year, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because it changes so much. So you have to be constantly, continuously testing. One time a year is a snapshot. When you do it continuously, you can really know. And the great thing about this product is that it really helps the security team show value, because security is like a cost center for the organization, right? They're just spending money.
Yeah.
They can't really show what they're doing, because if nothing happens, they're doing a good job. But if something happens, they failed. So Pentera can really show how they progressed, because it shows, okay, we started from a C, we built, we spent budget on these and these subjects, on these areas, we remediated, we changed processes, and we went all the way to an A. So it really allows the team to show their work, show what they're doing every day, show why it's important to invest more budget. Say, okay, if we don't fix this, Pentera just found a problem that if we don't fix it, potentially we can be a ransomware attacked. We don't want this, so we need budget for this specific area.
All right, that's very good. I haven't heard of anything. It's quite a unique product, I would say.
It's very unique.
Yeah.
We don't have anyone doing the same thing.
Yeah.
No one is doing the agentless approach, and we exploit for real. All of our exploits are done in real time, but they're safe by design. And this is kind of the most important thing, because this is where we put all of our efforts. Because if we have 800 customers, imagine a bank that runs us. Imagine a device, stop working because of an exploit that we run. We can't afford that. We have 95% retention on our customers,
Okay.
because when they run Pentera, they know that nothing bad would happen. So building an exploit, let's say, it's not easy, but making it safe, this is the hard part, and this is where all our IP is invested. And we make sure that everything we add into the platform is without any problems, without any chances of doing any harm to the network.
And you must have, once it's like you've got to keep supporting this. So you've got to have a team. How big, your dev team must be working around the clock all the time.
So usually in companies, the R&D team, it's like 80% D, developers, 20% R, research, or even less. We have a really big research team, because this is what they do. They have to research the latest and greatest threats, exploits, vulnerabilities, and they come from all plethora of cybersecurity, from DevOps, from penetration testing, from Red Team, and together, basically Pentera is their brainchild. And we update it every 3 to 6 weeks with the latest techniques, attack techniques, and this is how our customers keep on using us, because the threat is endless. The vulnerabilities are just going on and on. They're just building more and more, and you need to always have someone in your corner, Pentera, to allow you to really test these things.
Are you like using any third parties to gather your information, gather your threats?
So when Pentera started, we did use some open source tools, but right now we built all of it proprietary. We're a big company. Back in the day, we used to use many tools, because when you run an ethical hack, you can use different tools. Today we built all of our tools. We customize them. They're proprietary, and we have an attack orchestrator that decides what to use when, based on the information received dynamically.
And quickly, just the last thing. I know it's a bit of a broad question, but what if you could just give 3 bits of advice to IT managers, network people, maybe a small and medium company. What would you say the top 3 things that they would need to be looking out for?
So I can tell you that our kind of like sweet spot is a lot of mid-market, or mid-market are using us a lot because they have small teams, they have too much work to do, and they don't have the time. So my advice is, first of all, test yourself. Don't assume that what you have in place is working. Even though you bought from the best company in the world and the installation was great, don't assume that it's working. Always measure and validate and test yourself. That's the first thing. Because when you assume, it means you don't know. And when you don't know, it's a problem in cybersecurity. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would recommend is not focus only on vulnerabilities. When you look at vulnerability scanners and just fix according to CVSS, it doesn't really give you the real picture, because there's more than 25,000 new vulnerabilities each year are coming.
Yeah.
So everyone's patching the critical vulnerabilities. But how do you know that a critical vulnerability is actually going to take an attacker to your crown jewels? You don't. So don't just focus on the vulnerabilities. Understand the impact of exploitation. Constantly do that. Once you know the impact, then you can prioritize. So first of all, validate. Second, understand the impact of each vulnerability before you actually remediate. And third, what I say is that don't just buy technology based on the GUI or the eye color of the salesperson. All right, test them. And with Pentera, you can really bring in all these things. Let's imagine you want to buy an EDR. We have a customer in the UK. He had a process of buying a new EDR solution. So he asked all the EDR vendors to put their agents on these devices, and he ran Pentera, mimicking an attack. And the best performing EDR was chosen based on the attack that happened. Did it block the attack? We have around 40 or 50 different techniques in order to bypass an EDR.
Which one was it? Can you say?
I can't say.
Okay.
I want to stay objective,
okay.
But I can tell you that it also helps the industry make themselves better. So we act as an independent solution. We don't integrate into anyone because this is how we like to be. We are the attacker only in your hands. Imagine that you can have on-demand attack that you can run continuously. Really allows you to define your strategy.
Yeah.
So this is what I can say. Don't just rely on vendors. Don't just rely on what you think you know. Constantly challenge yourself and measure the technologies that are selling you. You have a managed service SOC team. How do you know if they'll function on a Friday night if they'll actually inform you that something happened? You don't.
Does Gartner measure you guys?
Excuse me?
Gartner.
Yes, definitely. In automated security validation, we're a part of the quadrant, and
Are you up on that top right?
Yeah, we're in plateau productivity because we came from automation of penetration testing. Security validation is a new thing.
Yeah.
All right. It's not something that everyone's budgeting for.
Sure.
We understand that. What I suggest, we offer 1-day POV, proof of value, free of charge. We come in, no prerequisites because we're an agentless platform. We bring our appliance, we run it for 1 day, no commitments. We're not asking for anything, only for attention. We ask for a small scope, 100 endpoints. We run Pentera for a day from 9 a.m., 4 p.m. we finish, show the reports, explain what was done, and if the customer likes it, great, we'll move ahead. If not, we can still be friends.
Okay.
So that's the idea. It's not months or weeks of POV, POC that will never end.
Yeah, you need to get there quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
We show you the value quickly, and this is how we close with the biggest customers in the world, like BlackRock, like City National Bank, like National Bank of Fujairah in Dubai, and many, many other customers. We came for 1 day, we prove the product, and then we say, okay, do you like it? Run it continuously, scale it up, and
Can you mention any local customers, or have they not given you?
Yes. So Discam, pharmaceutical, very known pharmaceutical.
They had a hack, I'm sure.
Yeah, but they had a hack from external.
Okay.
So it's not not something that we had involved because it comes from the external.
Discam.
But Discam Pharmaceuticals is someone that is a big customer of ours. And I think that's the only one I can mention. I'm not sure, so I don't want to just say.
Sure.
But Discam is a big customer of ours. So we started not long ago, before the hack. After the hack.
After the hack, yeah.
After the hack, yes, definitely.
Oren, thanks. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.